I'm your host Slim bin Mohammed Rafi, and here is my YouTube channel Zamir Universe. Nuclear war, as India has been itching, and so has been the one of the cruelest, the dirtiest, the filthiest war criminal declared by international court, and everyone in the world spitting on him, Netanyahu, the war criminal, wanted, and his warrants of arrest been issued, and so for the butcher of Gujarat, Narendra Modi. Whether they were twins or they have a DNA which is common of, and they have, I think, surpassed Halaku Khan, the cruelest people on earth, they have both. And what they are itching for, and they have been blackmailing the whole world. And Netanyahu in the last 75 years, and even I think his vengeance, his hatred towards mankind, the survival of mankind never stopped when his predecessor assassinated President Kennedy, because he did not want the Israelis to pursue the nuclear bomb development, and they didn't like that. When that prime minister, he didn't like that to whom this criminal succeeded, he made sure that this man was assassinated so that he never asks him again anything about it. Because the Jewish lobby, like Friends of Israel, Apex, they are so strong. They not only they built an island where they were providing children for all kinds of sex orgies, and all the big names have been there, and they are taking their naked videos to blackmail them. And Mossad and the Jews, Netanyahu visited that place 60 times. So you can imagine that how actively this dirty, filthy people been involved. And this is the same thing you can say about Narendra Modi, because he cannot look after his own security and security of his people, the tourists, but he keeps bragging, and he sold everything. He sold railway stations, he sold airports, he has, I think, sold highways, motorways, but even his soul, and all he did it in hatred towards Mughals, the people who ruled India, the British. So the Muslims and Christians been his main target. Even touching the cow handlers were lynched and raped, then triple talaq, then all sorts of excuses, just like saying that Netanyahu demolish their homes, take their olive orchards, take their farms, put the illegal settlements, inch by inch, throw them out into the ocean or out in the desert to die of starvation. And both these cruel people are scum of the society, and if what they are itching for, I'm just giving you just a small little overview what the nuclear will do. What would any one of them? Pakistan possesses 130 nuclear or atomic weapons, and they are very, very strong, very easy to carry, and much, much lethal than India, who has 118 nuclear weapons. Now, if ever there is a nuclear war between Pakistan and India, as India keeps on blackmailing that I will use that, and if Pakistan, God forbid, in retaliation uses that, when its sovereignty is in danger, then you can see what will happen. At least 20 million people may die. Now, how many will be affected? 2 billion. So imagine, out of 1.9 billion total Indian population and 250 million in Pakistan, both countries people can die. Or if they don't, then what can happen to the countries? Because this nuclear war will not just remain contained to the geographical borders of India and Pakistan. This will spread all the way to miles and miles, it will reach there. Now, how many years will be there before there is a sunrise again, because all that dust which will rise from this nuclear explosion, it will take nearly 20 years for sun to shine again on the Earth planet. So there will be no agriculture, no plantation, no food. People will starve to death. So that is what will be in the plate for Narendra Modi. And God forbid if the Pakistan did the first attack, it will be the same thing, not only for these two countries, but the whole world population. Now, how many people can die? Remember that in the first 2 months, nearly 40 million people will die of this nuclear war if it does. And tons of smoke will go up into the sky. It will be approximately 15 million tons of dust and smoke which will rise towards the sky, and so there will be no sunshine on the planet, so no vegetation, no nothing, no even rain cycle. Now this smoke will reach miles and miles and could reach United States of America, which is now, that is the ill and the last 75 years has invaded one of the most, I think, terrorist ugly face which has invaded on one pretext or the another to rob their gold, their oil, and did it on the behest of Israel, that illegitimate child. They came out of the illegal, wedlock between Great Britain and that.
The moment the atomic bomb detonated, its detonation altitude of 0.36 miles or 0.58 kilometers above the city, the bomb exploded and everything directly below was instantly incinerated. The blast wave is what knocked Fujio off his feet, and it extends for miles. Fujio finally comes to and rubs the back of his head. His body is covered in radiation burns. It feels like his skin is on fire. Fujio jumps into a nearby water tank to try to alleviate the burning sensation, but nothing works. A nuclear chain reaction is initiated. There's a bright flash of light, but the temperature instantly increases to over 12,600 degrees Fahrenheit or 7,000 degrees Celsius. A fireball envelops the middle of the city. Its blast wave destroys everything within a quarter of a mile radius. 70,000 people are killed. The blast is not safe either, as they're plagued with burns, radiation poisoning, and eventually an agonizing death. Waters of the Ota River instantly evaporated. The river and its tributaries divide the city into 6 islands, which jut out into Hiroshima Bay. Water continues to flow downstream, replacing all the water that was lost. The result is a series of natural fire across Hiroshima as anything flammable ignites from the intense heat. Everything within 4.4 miles or 7 kilometers of the blast's epicenter is incinerated from the raging inferno. This includes schools, churches, hospitals, and homes. Throughout the city, industrial and residential zones, human bodies, lamp posts, or anything solid that blocked the brilliant flash of energy and light protected the structures they're in front of. The resulting shadows are the stone and concrete's true colors before the atomic bomb detonated. Anything that's not shielded has decades of dirt and filth burnt away from the intense heat of the blast. At Sumitomo Bank, the shadow of a man holding a walking stick is forever cast on the steps as his body is completely. The atomic bomb known as Fat Man descends to an altitude of 1,650 feet or 500 meters and detonates at 11:02 a.m. with the force of 21,000 tons of TNT. 40,000 people are instantly killed in the city of Nagasaki in the same way that Hiroshima had been devastated 3 days before. News reaches Hiroshima that another city has been hit by an atomic bomb. Ryoga Suwa is 12 years old. His parents are missing, his sister is dead. He's known as an atomic bomb orphan, and he is by no means the only one. Tens of thousands of children will grow up without their parents who were killed in the blasts of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. A few days after the atomic bomb fell on Hiroshima, Ryoga is loaded into a train and brought 50 kilometers away with other children and refugees. He will return to Hiroshima 1 month later and be taken back to where he used to live to collect his personal belongings. He passes the temple that he used to go to with his family. The tombstones in the cemetery are overturned from the blast. The Setonai Islands sit in the distance. Ryoga used to be able to see buildings on the islands. Now the landscape is flat, as if no one has ever lived there. 4 days after the bomb detonated over Hiroshima, the day after the second atomic bomb was dropped on Japan and destroyed Nagasaki, the Japanese government issues a statement of surrender. Their terms declare that the emperor will maintain his position and continue to be the sovereign ruler of Japan. The Allies reject the offer. U.S. Secretary of State James F. Burns makes a statement saying, "From the moment of surrender, the authority of the Emperor and the Japanese government to rule the state shall be subject to the Supreme Commander of the Allied Powers, who will take such steps as he deems proper to effectuate the surrender terms." President Harry Truman is notified that another atomic bomb is ready for shipment and can be dropped on another Japanese target in a matter of days. The factories at Hiroshima continue to churn out any military equipment they can. The fires are slowly beginning to be put out. People continue to die in overcrowded makeshift hospitals from burns, radiation poisoning, and wounds sustained from the blast. 8 days after the bomb detonated over Hiroshima, Japanese military leaders carry out a coup to overthrow the emperor and his advisors, who have decided to surrender. The revolt fails, and on August 14, 1945, the Japanese government accepts the Allied terms of unconditional surrender. A recording of Emperor Hirohito's voice is broadcast across the nation. The recording informs the Japanese people that they will be surrendering to the Allied forces. The moment that the broadcast is heard by the citizens of Hiroshima, the mentality of the city shifts. Many can't believe they've lost the war, but without every ounce of energy and resources being poured into the war machine, they can begin rebuilding their city. Factories that the government took control of are returned to private owners. Local authorities of Hiroshima start creating a plan of recovery. The smoldering city will never be the same, but the population can now begin to rebuild and slowly heal from the devastation of the atomic bomb. 1 month after the bomb detonated over Hiroshima, World War II officially comes to an end on September 2, 1945, when Japanese Foreign Minister Mamoru Shigemitsu and General Yoshihiro Umezu signed the formal surrender documents aboard the deck of the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. A turning point in history has been reached. Japan will suffer under Allied occupation. However, Hiroshima and Nagasaki will eventually receive additional aid to help rebuild. Unfortunately for Hiroshima, things are about to get a lot worse before they get any better. On September 17th, Typhoon Microscope slams into the city and floods large amounts of the land in the midst of the rebuilding process. Once again, makeshift hospitals need to be set up on the outskirts of the city to serve the influx of injured citizens that are still trying to recover from the nuclear blast. As the floodwaters sweep through the ruined city, they wash much of the residual radioactive particles and debris into the sea. After the typhoon, the radiation levels decrease substantially. Microscope might have been a harsh natural disaster, but also a blessing in disguise. 3 months after the bomb detonated over Hiroshima, the population of Hiroshima is now at 137,000. This is still a fraction of the original number, but it's higher than any point since the bomb was dropped. The main administrative center has started to be rebuilt. Over the past several months, surveys have been conducted and a tally of people lost, the number of buildings destroyed, and locations that need to be torn down are recorded. It's found that 62,000 out of the 90,000 buildings in the urban center have either collapsed or have been destroyed beyond repair. This means about 69% of all structures in the city have been lost. 430,000 American troops have been deployed throughout Japan. There is a lot of animosity between the Japanese population and their American occupiers. Neither is happy about the atrocities carried out by the other side. But this is only a fraction of the number of Allied soldiers that will be sent to Japan. Throughout the next 7 years, approximately 1 million American soldiers will be deployed to Japan to enforce the occupation. With them will be thousands of civilian contractors and workers to help rebuild the country under the watchful eye of the U.S. military. 6 months after the bomb detonated over Hiroshima, American soldiers have been in Hiroshima for several weeks, but have played a minimal role in rebuilding the city. However, Allied forces are integral in disseminating emergency supplies to the area. The U.S. hands over the oversight of Hiroshima to the British Commonwealth Occupation Force. Ron Shepard is an Australian soldier deployed to Hiroshima to help with restoration efforts. He's aboard a naval ship approaching a nearby harbor to offload troops and supplies. The water is full of Japanese shipwrecks and shells of vessels that were destroyed during the war. A cheer erupts from the sailors on board. This is a clear sign to them that the war is truly over. In theory, they knew the Japanese had surrendered, but seeing the destruction along the Japanese coast just confirms it in their minds. Shepard is tasked with providing aid to the people of Hiroshima. When he gets to the city, he's shocked to find burnt bodies still lying on the ground. Even months after the bomb was dropped, there is still so much carnage and death. The people of Hiroshima are wary of Shepard and the other Allied soldiers. He lets out a whistle as he scans the city. The skeletons of buildings and piles of rubble are all that remains. Shepard and the other men in the British Commonwealth Occupation Force get to work, providing supplies and aid. Neither the Japanese nor the Allied soldiers want conflict. They've all seen what war can do, and relative peace is kept between the occupiers and the Japanese people. 1 year after the bomb detonated over Hiroshima, the city struggles to recover. The funds it desperately needs have not been allocated by the newly formed government. People continue to come to the hospital every day complaining of nausea, vomiting, fevers, and intense pain. There's an alarming rate of various cancers developing in the population as a result of the radiation many were exposed to when the atomic bomb detonated. This constant flow is overwhelming. With the lack of funds and personnel, the hospitals in Hiroshima can't keep up with the influx of sick people. 140,000 people, or around half the city's population, have died either as a direct result of the bomb or from illnesses caused by radiation exposure. In the coming years, tens of thousands of more Hiroshima citizens will die. During the initial blast and the weeks that followed, residents inhaled irradiated particles or drank contaminated water. The radiation slowly degrades their genetic code and leads to painful, merciless deaths. 2 years after the bomb detonated over Hiroshima, plants bloom around the recovering city of Hiroshima. Those that sprout up near ground zero show signs of genetic abnormalities. Sesame plants are producing 33% more seeds than normal, but upon further investigation by scientists, it's determined 90% of the seeds are sterile. What is happening to the plants of Hiroshima is also happening to the people. There is an increase in birth defects and infertility. Tumors develop in seemingly healthy individuals. Cancer cases only continue to rise. 4 years after the bomb detonated over Hiroshima, after countless attempts to plead their case, the administration of Hiroshima finally convinces national politicians to give Hiroshima special status and pass the Peace Memorial City Construction Law Article 1, which states Hiroshima is to be a peace memorial city, symbolizing the human idea of the sincere pursuit of genuine and lasting peace. This opens up the doors for new lines of funding that city planners desperately need. It also allows for state-controlled land to be turned over to the local government and residents of the city free of charge. This removes much of the financial burden that was slowing the rebuilding progress of the city. The new laws in turn lead to a construction boom in the 1950s that allowed the economy and the people of Hiroshima to thrive. The Allied occupation ends in 1952, and by 1958 the population reaches pre-war levels, with 410,000 citizens living in the city. Legacy of the Hiroshima bombing. The atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima will always have a lasting effect on the city and the people living in it. Today, Ground Zero is employed as a major landmark, and people will use it as a reference point when giving directions. There are museums, memorials, and parks that immortalize the event that killed over 140,000 Japanese people and left thousands of children orphaned. Peace Memorial Park is built at the epicenter of the blast. It also serves as the epicenter for a spiritual movement and a movement to ban nuclear weapons. Atomic Bomb Dome is one of the very few buildings that survived the blast and still stands today. It was made into a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1996. These places not only tell the history of Hiroshima and the struggle to rebuild after the bomb, but also serve as a warning. The city of today stands as a monument so that the world will never forget what nuclear weapons can do and hopefully prevent them from ever being used again in the future. Now watch what happened immediately after 9/11, or check out the truth about why America dropped atomic bombs on Japan.
Is the Great Britain. Now even India-Pakistan, the Kashmir issue has been there. Palestine issue has been left by that. So he left the Tibet issue there and there, Hong Kong. Even in the Middle East, all those, things, you will see that Japan, China, all these problems were left by British, and they have never been made accountable and been asked for compensation. Now, what will happen is that it can involve the whole world, and this is why I think if it's not stopped, if the world does not wake up, as it has been kept sleeping with the genocide of Gaza and starvation and the killings, and they are even in their, makeshift tents where they were there, all the hospitals, the universities, the wells poisoned, the food stopped for 90 days now, no medicine, no doctors, no anesthesia. Now you can see that how concentration camps they talk about, their incinerators and gas chambers. These people are beasts. If Netanyahu is a beast, then his father is Narendra Modi. He is the father of that beast. So you can imagine that the whole world will be involved in 2 weeks after the first blast. Now, if that happens, at least 2 billion people, which is nearly 1/3 of the total world population, will perish. So I think with this little message to wake up Narendra Modi and the other evil on this planet, that world should rise against it and stop these two people. It's not just a question of ceasefire between India and Pakistan. It is going to have its impact all across the globe, so it must be stopped.
यूनिवर्सल टेलीविजन को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें, उसके बाद बेल बटन पे क्लिक करें और अपने कमेंट्स के सेक्शन में अपने कीमती जो ख्यालात का इजहार ज़रूर